Impromptu video. I'm just walking down to Quinn's school. ITV was supposed to come out and film at the school today. NIAS are doing an assembly in school to teach the kids about autism. ITV were going to take the opportunity to come down and talk to Quinn, film the assembly and interview me, which was originally what they wanted to do before they found out about the assembly. Yesterday I got a text message about 4 o'clock-ish to say they weren't coming. I was in Westminster at the time. I was in the report launch that I'd mentioned in my other post, so I couldn't get out and contact Michelle, couldn't use my phone, so I had to wait until afterwards. So at which point Quinn had 2 days preparation for the news team coming out. Didn't go down very well. So the reason for me saying this is that I'm now having to go down to school. I was going to go and watch the assembly anyway, but I've told Quinn that I'll stay with him all day to offer a bit of reassurance and comfort for him. It's what you have to do. It's not what I planned. I've got so much work to do from yesterday, but this is what you have to do, you know. My boy needs me, so I'm going to be there for him. What I wanted to talk to you about when I'm walking out of school is language. Now, I was on the radio this morning, just a brief chat with Alfie Joey and Anna Foster, following up on what's been happening this week, and they asked me about stigmas. One of the biggest sticking points in advocacy is the use of language. Professionals and society at large talk about people having autism or living with autism. What that does is separates the autism from the person. That's like saying, instead of saying a woman, a person with womanness, or a man, a person with manness, or a blind person, a person with blindness, or a deaf person, a person with deafness. It doesn't work, because those things are defining natures of who we are. I'm autistic. That means that my neurology is different from a non-autistic person. That means, in turn, that I perceive the world very, very differently from you. All the sounds that I can hear around me at the moment, I hear them all at once, very loud, full volume, all at the same level. I can't tune anything out. Same with sight. I look out and I see every detail of what's going on. People say that we can't see the bigger picture. We can see far bigger than the bigger picture. We see everything all at once and have to manually tune in to certain things, the minutiae, because it's too overwhelming to see everything at once. Now, people do not understand this. People do not understand that I perceive the world in an autistic way. People do not understand that everything about me is autistic. Now, lots of parents say that they don't want their children defined by autism, and I'm really sorry, but they are defined by autism because they're autistic. What the parent is doing by saying that is trying to separate the autism from their child, but their child is autistic. There's nothing to separate. It's in every ounce of their being. And it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. To be autistic is a positive thing. But it's just that you don't understand it. And people are afraid of things that they don't understand. And what that does there, in turn, is make people think, well, if it's autism can be separated from the person, then that's something that can be treated, fixed, cured. And then we move into things like pathologizing language. We talk about high functioning and low functioning, severe, mild. Those things don't exist. There is no such thing as a high functioning autistic. There is no such thing as a low functioning autistic. There is no such thing as severe autism or mild autism. Autism is autism. This is where people get confused, because there are so many comorbids that can go with being autistic. They often get attached to autism. People who are defined as low functioning are usually people that for whatever reason cannot speak. That doesn't mean that they don't want to speak, doesn't mean that they will never speak. At this moment in time, they may not speak. Or they may speak only at certain times. They might be selectively mute, which describes me. Put so many support mechanisms in place to help my anxiety. A child can't do that. That doesn't mean that my selective mutism is gone. It just means that I've learned to cover it up, learned to support myself in order to self-regulate myself. Someone who has a learning disability, or a learning difference as we call it, that does not mean that they are a low-functioning autistic. That means that they are autistic, but they also have a learning disability. Autism isn't the problem. The problem is someone's perception of how they learn, the outsider's perception of how they learn. It's not even a disability. That's why we call it a learning difference. It's because somebody hasn't been able to identify how that child learns, how that child communicates. We are told that as autistic people, we have communication problems. Well, surely that's a two-way street. If you can't understand us, then who's the one with the communication problem? You are having trouble communicating with us. So what society is saying is that we are the ones with a disability, when in actual fact, it's a two-way street. Other people aren't communicating with us effectively. And as I said on the radio this morning, it hurts us. Language hurts us. Language is used to suppress us. Not necessarily deliberately, but it's part of a negative culture. Autism is bad. Autism has been bad since autism was first defined. And then that brings us on to the problem with diagnosis. We have, again, like I said, high functioning autism, low functioning autism, mild autism, severe autism, Asperger's. Do you know the difference between Asperger's and autism? There isn't one. Well, there is. It's tiny. Autism is defined by a speech delay when you're a child. Asperger's is not. That is the only difference between the two. The two conditions, as they are called, are exactly the same apart from that one tiny thing. Now there's a whole history behind why autism exists, why Asperger's exists, why those labels are used. A lot of it comes down to individual people wanting to get credit for themselves. There's Kanner in America in the 40s and 50s and 60s. Hans Asperger himself in the 1940s. Other people all over the world who have defined what autism is, coming into the 70s and the 80s. Lorna Wing, who was a bit of a pioneer in the UK for autism, she came up with the whole idea of the spectrum. Spectrum is a flat line going from severe to high functioning. But that doesn't work, because the spectrum needs to be in 4 dimensions, because at any point in any given time an autistic person could be high functioning, 10 minutes later he could be low functioning, or she, or they, or them. So that spectrum needs to be fluid and move around all the time. But it isn't, because it's defined by professional people who need to put ticks in boxes. When you get diagnosed, you have to tick these certain boxes. Now that's a narrow definition of what autism is. If you speak to autistic people, their definition of what autism is far wider. And a lot of us, everybody that I talk to, and in the community, people that blog about this, and I'm talking thousands and thousands of autistic people here, are all describing the same traits. I wrote a blog about the inside of my brain, and I was thinking, people are going to look at this and think, what on earth is going on with him? And in actual fact, I got thousands of messages of people saying, well, that's how my brain works. You can go and check it out if you want. It's called The World Inside My Head. It's on my, it's up on the blog, theautisticadvocate.com. My point is that what you think autism is not autism. You have a preconception of what autism is because professionals are defining it in a certain way, because Hollywood is defining it in a certain way. That is how we view autism. It's like eye contact. Now, eye contact is associated hugely with autism, or lack of eye contact, or being unable to make eye contact. Now, that, in the Western culture, is a terrible thing. You must make eye contact. You go to Japan, nobody makes eye contact. And that's not because they're all autistic. That's because it's a cultural thing. Now, what we see as how society should exist and how it should appear is not reality. I had a friend, a supporter of my page, message me earlier saying she shared one of my posts and got an email from someone who was offended because she described me as autistic, and it should say that I have autism. Now, that person obviously doesn't listen to me, or does not listen to other advocates around the UK, Europe, the world. Now, every poll that has been done, and there have been thousands of polls that have been done, all come back with autistic people ranging between 70 and 90% saying, I am autistic. The National Autistic Society have changed their language to identify that. People need to start listening to us, because this language is a big stumbling block for us. It holds us back, it hurts us, it fuels the cure culture of, like I said, like I was at Westminster yesterday, the people wanting to use collation and MMS and turpentine and using enemas up their children's backsides, and using biomedicines and trying to cure us of something that cannot and should not be cured because they are confused. They do not understand what it is. This week should not be called Autism Awareness Week. It should be called Autism Understanding Week, because people need to start understanding we are different, and that is good. Difference is so good. Different is what makes it, fuels the world, has fueled history. Different people making discoveries, different people designing technologies and creating things, different people fueling humanity. And these people, most of them retrospectively have been diagnosed as autistic. We are amazing. Please, please, please push this message out. Please tell people, because this year things are changing. 2018, there's something in the air, and autistic people are starting to make a difference, but we need our help from our allies and non-autistic friends and families and supporters and people who believe that autism is a positive and good thing and can be a positive and good thing. Last message I want to say: having a child who is autistic, if you are non-autistic, is not the easiest thing in the world. I understand that, I appreciate that, but all children are hard. All children come with their problems and issues and ways of learning and ways of understanding their own personalities, and that's why we have them. We have children so that we can be parents, so that we can bring a life into the world and make a personality and release them into the world to do amazing things. So remember that. And if you are struggling, look for help. Come to autistic people. Go and find other parents who are also struggling. Get together. All of you, get together. Autistics and non-autistics alike. Learn from each other. Support each other. Now I better go, because I'm going to get dirty looks if I come to the assembly late. So, have a lovely day. And I'm going to shut up now. Bye-bye.